This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. We were bummed at the end of last week that the schedule was so weird that we'd only be able to talk about one game on this podcast, but at least it was an exciting game. A lot of stuff going on. Yankees took game one of the American League Division Series against the Kansas City Royals, 6-5. First playoff game in playoff history with 5 lead changes in the game. A stat that's equally as insane as hearing that Pete Alonso's home run in Game 3 against Milwaukee was the first home run in the 9th inning or later of a playoff game to flip a lead. First ever. Kind of a normal thing that happens during the regular season. If it happens to you, you're like, oh, man, we had that lead and then it got flipped. But it's definitely not something where you're like, this is generational. This will kill me. But it's never happened in the postseason before. Neither has a game with that many flips of the advantage, especially not in a game one. A tone setter. Was it a clean game? No. No. Was it a game that makes you go, oh, well, this Yankees team, I mean, you can't get these guys. They're cockroaches. You know, they're unkillable. No. Was it a game that's like, oh, man, this Yankees team is just, their armor. You can't pierce it. They're so beyond strong. They're favorites for a reason. No. Gerrit Cole, to call the command shoddy would be an understatement and offensive to shoddy guys. Shoddy guy in your life would be offended if you called Gerrit Cole's command shoddy in game one. The offense eventually stepped up, but they still got 2 hits with runners in scoring position. They were both with 2 outs, which makes them feel a little bit more bold. But there were still only 2 of them, and they sent 8 men to the plate in 1 inning and scored just 2 runs, which feels like an impossibility even 2 days later. 2 days later, we still don't have another game. Again, tonight, game 2, 7:38 p.m. Eastern time, TBS. But we got to talk about Cole. We got to talk about the lack of clutch. We've got to talk about some significant decisions made by Aaron Boone. Yes, Aaron Boone. Some changes, some lineup tweaks, and some bullpen management in game one that helped carry that one to the finish line. Some defensive irony, a replay review that has all of Kansas City up in arms, and we have to have the Aaron Judge conversation because if we won't, then who will? Game 2, again, ample opportunity to change the narrative. We hope the New York Yankees keep winning, but also do things better so that we can come on the show on Thursday and be like, that was better. Joining me to talk through it, game 1, again, only one game. We can only recap the games that have been played. And that is one. It is Thomas Carannante. Thank you for joining me on the show, Thomas.
I am here. Thanks for having me again, like every other podcast. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome for having you on the podcast that we co-host.
Thank you for everybody for tuning in. I know it's a little bit late, but this is our scheduled days, and it's not our problem. MLB decided to make this the schedule to prioritize splitting up the DS with, I guess what? Not have 4 games a day, so you can avoid 2 afternoon slots. You get the Yankees in the late slot. You get the Dodgers in the late slot. Everybody makes their money.
You got Edwin Diaz throwing like 5 innings across 2 days, though, because the Mets and Phillies have to play games 1 and 2 like 8 hours apart.
Yeah.
And, first pitch at 1:08 a.m. and fans in Philly are still, drunk from the night before. But this is what we got. We got 2 American League games today. We got the Guardians in the afternoon, Gardos and Tigers, and we got the New York Yankees and Kansas City Royals playing again tonight in the Bronx. Last home game before they go on the road to KC. Winning game 1 feels good. Better, but it feels good.
I, on the other hand, did not feel good. I'm sorry. There was a lot of division on Yankees Twitter too. It was like the people who saw the obvious issues with why this wasn't a good game, maybe being too loud about it, and then people on the other side like, can't we just celebrate a win? What's wrong with a win? Yeah, I mean, we should celebrate a win. You are right about that. Are we going to celebrate a win and ignore everything that had worried us prior to arriving in the postseason that cropped up in the first game of the postseason against an inferior wildcard team? I don't know. I think it warrants a more nuanced discussion. I think that game was way more frustrating than it was satisfying. And it comes down to the expectations once again, right? You're the Yankees. You're the home team. You had the bye. You have a $36 million pitcher on the mound. You have 2 MVPs in the lineup. And You should beat a team that just scored 3. You should beat a team handily who's throwing their 4th best pitcher after they scored 3 runs in the totality of the wild card series. So, yeah, I mean, to have multiple base running gaffes in this one, defensive issues, situational hitting, issues for all across 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position. You just can't have that. The team got bailed out by poor relief job by the Royals, which I understand is part of the game, but it more so felt like to me the Royals lost that one than the Yankees won that one. And again, when you have all those factors going in your favor, like the Yankees did on Saturday night, it shouldn't feel that way. And when the competition gets harder, which it will in the CS or the World Series if they make it there, Guardians are a tighter team than the Yankees. I would argue the Tigers are a tighter team than the Yankees. They play. The reason the Tigers have been able to ascend as far as they could was because they've been playing tremendous defense. They've been saving that pitching staff for the last 8 weeks. So they're also aggressive on the base paths, much like are the 3 remaining teams in the AL. So if the Yankees are unable to, the pitching staff's unable to hold runners to leads, if the infield can't cleanly field ground balls and throw them and make routine plays, then it's going to be a problem. So yeah, and then I think the most overblown aspect of this was Judge going 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Like, yep, he struck out 36% of his postseason at bats. We all know it's a reality. It's the first game of the postseason, so him and Stanton went 0 for 8 with 6 strikeouts. I mean, that's the nature of the lineup. It's boom or bust. I think the greatest sign out of this game, which is what I was able to go to sleep at night comfortably about, was everybody else stepping up. I mean, that is exactly what you need to see. Austin Wells, clutch single. Alex Verdugo, 2 very good defensive plays, game-winning RBI. Gleyber Torres, 2-run home run. Jazz Chisholm, even though the replay review somehow didn't call him out, stole second, and then that extra base allowed him to get home for the game-winning run. So I think that was the greatest thing to look at. And it's like, okay, our lineup's deep. If these guys can come to play and step up, even if the larger acts can't, we're going to be in okay shape. But as a whole, to kick off the postseason like that, just think about if that was a loss. That's really all I'm trying to get at. If you had lost that game at home, if one other bounce doesn't go your way, let's just say Jazz is called out. We'll go over the replay review in a second. Yankees don't score there, and then it's the pressures on the bullpen. You're not feeling good. And then you lose that game at home. It's beyond deflating. You saw and felt how deflated the crowd was when Volpe made that error, when the Yankees didn't score with runners on second and third in the first inning and nobody out. And then you see the crowd wake back up at Gleyber's home run, and then they go back down when the Royals rally in the very next inning and MJ Melendez hits a home run. So all this crowd wants to do is erupt and cheer, and the Yankees make it so hard for us to do that. And it's absolutely it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, if I were being impartial here, I would say that the Royals have every reason to believe they can hang with the Yankees after
100%.
Game 1, especially because Cole Ragans in Game 2 and Seth Lugo at home in Game 3. I mean, those are your 2 best pitchers. So what? You lost the Gerrit Cole game. And so what? Forget for a second that Cole was quite bad. You lost the Gerrit Cole Michael Wacha game, and Wacha couldn't get through the 5th inning. You got to feel good about that. Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez didn't really do anything. You got to feel good about that. But on the flip side, I think we said the same thing about Astros Tigers Game 1. Like, oh, you lost the Tarek Skubal game. All right, well, the Astros have the pedigree. They'll be back. They barely lost. 9th inning rally came up just short. Now you never have to face that ace ever again. You'll be fine. You're at home. But they weren't fine, and overworked Josh Hader blew that series. So it's never quite that simple. I think Royals fans should feel relatively confident now, but confident that they can hang. I'm not saying confident in the outcome. I'm just saying confident that today might be a little better for them, and certainly Game 3. And you have some stuff to hang your hat on from Game 1. But also logically, like, you can go 2 for 13 with Risp. That's never going to happen again. But also maybe it will, because the Yankees don't really hit with Risp regularly. So if you're a Royals fan, you don't have to chalk that up as a random bounce and like, oh man, we almost won this game where the Yankees didn't deliver at all. What happens when they get even one more hit with Risp? 2 is kind of a lot for them. Sometimes they don't even get 2 hits with Risp. So I don't even think you need to worry. I don't think you need to worry about normalizing there. But Aaron Judge does next to nothing in that game. Makes a great defensive play in center field. But like you said, over 4, 3 strikeouts. Now, if you're, again, Royals fan or Yankee fan, we have different takes on this. Royals fan, you're going, we shut Judge down and we couldn't win that game. Ugh, what happens when he wakes up? Yankee fans are going, ugh, this is playoff Judge. What happens in October? Lights get bright, deer in the headlights. If you listen to Yankee fans, they'd be saying, again, just like wrist, why would that normalize? This is the Judge we're used to. He goes from MVP in the regular season to rob deer in the playoffs. The power's there. But, he's got a good degree of playoff home runs, certainly. His clutchest moments in the playoffs were arguably in his very first postseason. Also the wild card home run in 2018. But he had that big home run in the wild card game in 17. He had that big game-tying double in Game 4 of the ALCS, deep to the left field wall against Houston. Hit 250 in that CS overall with a 1065 OPS. He showed up. But then after that, he performed in the Red Sox DS that nobody wants to think about. Homered twice in that series and hit 375. But do you remember it? No, because you remember the boombox. Hasn't had an OPS above 800 in a series since the 2019 ALDS. And it sure feels like nothing's really gone right for this team since the 2019 ALDS in a lot of ways. Because you were left in that series, you were like, man. I was thinking back to that Game 1 a lot on Saturday night because they had ample opportunities to put the Royals away on Saturday. He's second and third, no outs in the first. Nobody comes home. And also Gleyber Torres tries the contact play. But in reality, if he doesn't try the contact play, they're not scoring that anyway because Stanton gets blown away and you end up with strikeout from 3, 4, 5 in the first. So you put the goat horns on Gleyber only if you're looking for a reason to, but a lot went wrong there. Bases loaded, walks in the 5th. Shout out to Angel Zerpa, my player of the game. I really delivered in the clutch for the
MVP.
But Yankees had 2 bases loaded walks, 8 batters reached, come to the plate that inning, only scored 2 runs. They never blew the doors off, as evidenced by the fact that the Royals kept punching back. And some of that was a Volpe defense. Some of that was Gerrit Cole and MJ Melendez taking advantage. And Yuli Gurriel just being impossible. We celebrated the Astros' departure too soon, I think, because then you're like, oh, wait, no, one of them is still here, and he's killing us again. It's like if George Springer just showed up on one of these rosters, and you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I hate everything. Gurriel's going to be here. He's going to be here for the whole series. He's going to be doing
just so predictable, man.
He's like 40, and he showed up he was at AAA for the Braves all year, got to the Royals on August 29th, and now here he is. He's their best hitter in a playoff run. Great. But yeah, I was thinking back to that Game 1 of the Twins series because they fall behind early in that one. I think it was 2-0, couple homers because that's what the 2019 Twins did. And then again on Saturday night, they fell behind 1-0, but it could have been way worse. I hate when people text me and say, oh, that could have been way worse because it usually does get way worse. Like if you watch the first couple innings and you're like, man, Gerrit Cole has absolutely nothing. All these pitches are center cut. He's sitting 95. And you're like, thank God we only gave up 1 run through 2 innings. It's like, no, dude, we're about to give up 5. There are more innings. The game's not over. Why are you texting me this? And of course, Melendez got him. And then immediately the line kind of looks like, oh, okay, yeah, 3 runs in 3 innings. And it took a Verdugo sliding catch to get out of that. But that Twins game, they fall behind. You're like, here we go. Yankees in the playoffs again. And we know the Twins are a bomba squad. And they have a crazy offense, but not quite the pitching to match. Sort of the opposite of this Royals team. But the Yankees are expected to take care of business. And then suddenly they can't. But they strike back. There's some sloppy fielding. They take advantage. And then 2 outs, bases loaded, chance to really bust the doors down. DJ LeMahieu hits a gapper. Everybody scores. And it's kind of easy. They had the chance to make Saturday really kind of easy. Once you survive the Cole innings and you're tied or you have a 1-run lead like they had in the middle innings, it should be 3. It should be 5. It should be 7. But it's not. It's 1. You have multiple chances to add on and you don't. And that's what makes a play like the Anthony Volpe grounder chucked into the outfield so depressing because he made the pitch. Tim Hill made the pitch. Tim Hill got the result. Anthony Volpe gloved the results. A hard hit ball. You got a double play ball in your glove. Then suddenly it's rolling around the outfield. Suddenly Garrett Hampson is knocking home 2 runs. But a lot of negative and for good reason. And a lot of things to say, okay, well, that still wasn't tightened up heading into Game 2. Where are we? But down 5-4. This is an historic game for punching back for a reason because the Yankees when have they ever punched back to that degree? When have they ever, with 2 outs and RISP, down 5-4, gotten the Wells single? And Wells got a huge walk lefty-lefty with the bases loaded. And Wells navigated Cole through a terrible start, and 5 members of the bullpen through must-win games, and Clay Holmes through an inning and 2/3 of shutout ball that kind of felt like when somebody's struggling, performs really well on a loss, and you get to the end of the game and you try to praise them, and everyone's like, but we lost, though. But actually, they won, so we do get to praise Clay Holmes. Aaron Boone pressed the right buttons in this game, which culminated in Verdugo ripping that single to left field and doing the come get me on second base. And if the game wasn't exactly secured at that moment in time, Canely let a guy on with 2 outs in the 8th. Immediate Luke Weaver button because of the off day on Sunday. Smart move, whether it worked or not. Doesn't matter that it's the 9-hitter Michael Garcia. I don't want to see Canely going after him. I don't want to see Canely, after he faces 3 batters and the changeup is dancing a little too much, get that 9-hitter because, well, it's just the 9-hitter. Okay, well, let's say he walks him. We're at the top of the lineup. It's first and second, 2 outs. Bring in someone who can gas up the light-hitting 9-hitter so I don't even have to worry about it. That's what Luke Weaver did. 97, dotted corner. See ya. And then this game was still in doubt right up until Bobby Witt Jr. fouling off all those full count pitches in the 9th. But once he took that 3-2, again, dotted from Weaver, who did an incredible job getting these 4 outs. I'm pretty sure it was over before the Pasquantino AB. I did not foresee that going badly. It did not go badly. I wouldn't say I was frustrated by this game. I was not part of the faction who was like, need more, need better. There were a lot of warts. We're talking about on this show. We got more warts to go through. They got a little bit lucky. That's what happens in the playoffs. That replay review on the Jazz ball. Entering game 1, you're like, whatever happens, happens. I have faith in the Yankees. I think they're the better team. No matter what happens tonight, I think they can hang their hat and come back strong for game 2. And then 3 innings in, you're like, oh my God, Gerrit Cole doesn't have it. If we lose the Gerrit Cole game, this is an absolute nightmare. You lose all your confidence in a matter of minutes. But the second half of this game was as encouraging as the first half was discouraging, I would say. And I think Aaron Boone did a lot of necessary altering to the plan and saved the Yankees from what could have been a catastrophe. Because you say it's okay and it's all right. They can lose game 1 at home. They can lose their ace against Waka. I think they can regroup. But then once you secure the win, you can admit to yourself, no, that would have been a huge problem if they had not won that game. It would have been a disaster for their prospects. And now, we can't go as far as to prognosticate in the future. All the guys putting their percentages out want to say the Yankees have a 50% chance of making the World Series. You can say that if you'd like to say that. It's one freaking postseason game and they weren't that good. We will not be saying that on this podcast. Plenty more to prove. But Aaron Boone gets the crown in the opener, and a lot of misfit toys came up huge in this one.
Yeah, gold star for Aaron Boone. We don't say that often. So, Aaron, if you're watching and you've been wanting to strangle us for a very long time, don't feel that way today. We want to talk about your good moves and how this is exactly what we need for the Yankees playoffs when things are not going well. We need a dugout general who's going to press the right buttons and force guys into right situations. First and foremost, right off the bat, it was clearly the right move to start Alex Verdugo. Even if he doesn't deliver at the plate, the defense in left field was tight. It saved runs. And that's what you need in a game that's whether it's a back and forth like it was on Saturday or whether it's a pitcher's duel and you're looking at a 1-0, 2-1 situation. That defense in the outfield, when you have someone like Judge already playing out of position, is absolutely massive. And that diving catch, don't know if it was going to land fair. Kind of looked like it was, right? It doesn't matter because the fact that the play was made and he was able to cover ground on a few other balls out there pretty much dictated how the Yankees were going to at least control what they could control. And I think that was a massive part of it after what we saw from Dominguez with his, 3 weeks in the majors, not even, maybe 2.5. So I think Aaron Boone's right. Jason Dominguez off the bench as a weapon is great. Can pinch run him, can bring him up as a pinch hitter. If you need a lefty at the plate, I don't know. There are plenty of options, and I don't think we're depriving Dominguez of anything at this point. He had his chance. It was the organization's fault for giving him such a short chance, but he didn't deliver, and now it's Verdugo's opportunity to step up. You also have the motivational factor for Verdugo. He's going into a contract year. He knows, look, he talked in the postgame about how bad he's been. And he said that he doesn't blame the fans for getting on him. He completely understands why. He was very unhappy with himself. He knows that it's unacceptable to have his play crater in that fashion. So he's got to be motivated. No one paying him money based on what he did in the regular season. That could change, though, with a big postseason. So props to that decision. Secondly, I think going to Clay Holmes, when Aaron Boone went to Clay Holmes. What was Clay Holmes warming up in the third inning? It was something fucking insane. We were sitting there like, what's going on?
Yeah, Gerrit Cole jump scare. Like at his worst moment, they cut to Holmes with all those dudes on base. It was right before Verdugo made the sliding catch. It was like, all right, okay. Like I get maybe you got to pull Cole early, but I don't think this is the opportunity for Clay Holmes.
Yeah, that was a good moment. But anyway, he brings in Holmes after the debacle with Volpe's error. Clay Holmes comes in 1 2/3 scoreless, 13 pitches. 1 2/3 score. He goes nearly 2 innings and throws 13 pitches, gets out of the trouble. He's credited with the win. How about that? Clay with the win after getting those blown saves in the 7th. This could be a narrative turn for the ages. And then I think some people might argue that, I mean, you're not obviously arguing this, but I think some might have believed that going to Luke Weaver that early was a bit of a panic move. And I don't agree, because Luke Weaver is able to do split inning duty. Finally, a guy who could do split inning duty. You know what I'm saying? All these years, it was like Chapman and Britton. You presented them with the idea of doing split inning duty, and they would just melt on the spot. In unconscionable proposal for them. Luke Weaver gets 4 outs, 3 strikeouts. Unbelievable. The energy they needed at the end of the game to put this across the finish line, because it very much felt like they were leaving the door open for most of this one, right? So you bring in Luke Weaver, who has had that demonstrative personality on the mound, who has clearly been the personality fit for the closer role, which Clay Holmes lacked, at least from our perspective, from fans' perspective. Don't know really what's going on down in the field or in the locker room, but it's very evident that there is a difference in energy and overall performance with Weaver there. So, I mean, those Boone decisions got this game to the finish line, and call it a panic move or not, you got to win that game. That you just have to win that game. And I understand that baseball is a wonky sport and there's a possibility you don't, but the manner in which that this game was transpiring, leads back and forth, the Yankees finally take the lead. Once you get that lead, fuck it. We're getting this win now. We're done playing games. No more of this nonsense. Aaron Boone was the one to step on somebody's throat. Obviously, this could have gone in a completely different direction. Maybe Clay Holmes blows up. I don't know. But he didn't. So every bullpen decision he made after Gerrit Cole was correct. Like you said, Tim Hill got the pitch, got the result. Don't know what Anthony Volpe was doing. I really don't. Like, that's a conversation. Don't really want to talk about that, to be honest, because it's only going to make everybody more mad. But bullpen goes 4 innings, gives up 2 hits, 1 walk, and that's the difference. And that's Aaron Boone.
Yeah, I've got a soliloquy plan on the Anthony Volpe botched double play ball if we want to do 25 minutes. No, I don't really want to. I don't want to think about that ever again.
What's the analysis?
No, I mean, that's the kind of gaffe that just can't happen. But you're watching it, and it's unbelievable that we're talking about a win today because of that. I mean, that play was such a terrible moment in time that it was like.
That plays a nail in the coffin for so many other teams.
Yeah.
And usually it is for the Yankees, but I mean, again, remember the Royals didn't capitalize as many times as they could have in this game too.
No, but that's what makes you think that. Look, I'm not saying that you will never ever catch me saying this team is freaking special. This team is actually built different because even objectively speaking, look, I'm watching the rest of the baseball playoffs. You know what team is built different and responds to adversity and can never be counted out? The freaking Mets. And they tie yesterday's game in the 9th inning and blow it and get walked off in the bottom of the 9th. Like, it doesn't exist. Even these teams of destiny have moments that are beyond gut check. Look at the Mets in the playoffs so far. To get into the playoffs, they have to have that crazy Braves game where Lindor homers after they've blown their entire lead. And then they run over the Brewers in game 1. What do they do in game 2? Blown save, Churio homer, double homers in the 8th. Devastating. Come back the next day, all-time lead flipping homer. Again, first time that's ever happened. They go to Philly, rally against the bullpen after Zach Wheeler start. Now they're rolling. Now momentum's on their side. Now they're a team of destiny. They can't be gotten, and they have a horrific loss yesterday. So you're never going to catch me just being like, wow, this team has mojo. It will never get bad for them. They're always going to have a solution. The Mets could win game 3. I think they will. It's just more proof that a team with a certain amount of metal can shake off losses or disasters. Whether the losses are normal or whether the losses are horrendous, you can regroup. And so you're not going to catch me saying like these Yankees just have something. So many Yankee teams would have been derailed by what happened in game 1, but this one wasn't. And I think they're going to be able to carry that momentum. No, I'm not going to say that, but what I will say is I'm surprised they didn't lose after the Volpe error. I'm surprised they got a little bit of luck on that Jazz Chisholm steal replay review. And I'm surprised that the Aaron Boone buttons that got pressed worked. The Clay Holmes move, you didn't even really notice. And again, you want to talk about things that this Yankee team was able to shake off that previous Yankee teams wouldn't have. How about Clay Holmes dropping his glove towards a rolling baseball and the announcing crew laughing at him going, I thought the grounder knocked his glove off, but actually he just dropped it. And then he got the out right after that. Nobody scored. And then, Alex Verdugo sliding catch in left field. I think it was a fair ball. But we're talking about ball bounced off his body and was maintained in the air. And he kept the, control of the catch to the ground like Jermaine Curse, like it's a freaking Seahawk or something. Whole lot of things happened in that game. And the fact that they have 2 hits with runners in scoring position and they're both 2 out RBIs to tie the game and to take the lead, that's surprising as well. You would have thought that, 2 hits with risk, but maybe they come through early in an inning and then it peters out and they can't get more runs across. No, it was actually like only 2 hits with runners in scoring position, but there were 2 of the clutchest hits of the entire game. And Dominguez didn't get enough time to prove himself. But you know what? At this juncture, you can't go in the other direction. You cannot pivot to Dominguez for game 2. And I don't think Yankee fans who were begging for Dominguez in August and early September deserve to be laughed at and mocked because Verdugo was good, or they don't deserve to be scorned. And it's like, you fools, you think you can manage? Well, guess what? Your guy had a 600 OPS and Verdugo comes up huge in the biggest game of the year. We'll take your apology notes, make your apology as loud as your disrespect. No, I think Yankee fans were right to want to see Dominguez early, correct to demand him. Then we saw him. He had a 600 OPS and had poor defense at a position that he does not play. I was on board with starting him in game 1 of the DS up until about a week and a half ago. Once the Verdugo decision came through, I was like, that's probably correct. And if it doesn't work, you can at least justify it. And then, oh boy, game 1, the defense and offense and attitude were on display. And that Boone had to announce yesterday that like Verdugo is going to start game 2. I didn't need to see that announcement. Of course, Verdugo is going to start game 2. I'm not sure what the bench does in this series.
Are they going to play?
Are they going to play? Duke Ellis is on the bench. We have 11 pitchers and Duke Ellis here. I mean, the only pathway, and I liked Oswaldo at first too. The only pathway I can see is Stanton pinch run for late in a game. Once he's probably not coming. Like, let's say the Yankees are nursing a 4-3 lead in the 8th and Stanton gets on, then you bring in Duke Ellis and hope that they don't blow it. Hope you can get an insurance run there and hold them at 5-3 or whatever. You can also like pinch hit Dominguez for somebody and then put Ellis in for him because you're not going to move Oswaldo to that position and put Ben Rice. It would be crazy if.
Well, you could move Oswaldo to left field.
You could, but then I don't want to put Ben Rice at first base. I don't want to put Ben Rice at first base for the crucial defensive inning. For the 9th, Oswaldo's in left, and he's been working on his scoops, and he's saying Anthony Rizzo is Mr. Miyagi, but now actually he gets to move, and we put another rookie in there. You could pinch run Duke Ellis for Stanton. You can pinch hit Dominguez for the spot if it ever comes back. That's a thing that you could do. But right now, it kind of just feels like a bench mob, and it kind of feels like we have a starting lineup. And I didn't really miss Anthony Rizzo in game 1. I liked seeing him on the bench. I like seeing him coaching up Judge. I like seeing him talking to Judge in a moment of weakness and despair and between strikeouts. But I liked our game 1 lineup. My problems were with the people who are definitely going to start in game 2 and who are immobile and who just need to play better. But I thought the decisions made were smart decisions. And when Boone came out and said Verdugo is going to start game 2, it was like, you didn't even really need to say that though, right? He was the hero and he's kind of the starter. So thanks, but also we know.
Thanks. I'm very appreciative of the announcement. I would agree. We didn't need it, but I think other people might have needed it. Guy went 2 for 3 with a walk, game-winning RBI. I know the tensions are still a little bit high surrounding that argument in left field, but I think it's laid to rest now. It's a next year thing. If Dominguez is not getting his fair shot in spring training or the beginning of the regular season, I think that's when we start to have an issue. But it's the playoffs right now. They can't really afford any mistakes. And that's that. So I don't know, man. I'm still not feeling great about the whole thing. I didn't feel at any point we were going to win that game, to be honest with you. I guess actually I did when Luke Weaver came in. I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? This is the move that we needed to make. But for the most part, I think it was a lot of bailouts, and the Jazz Chisholm review was, if that doesn't go in the Yankees' favor, what do you think happens? That game remains tied until it's not. And guess who's untying the game? Not the Yankees, especially in that situation. So for as much good as Aaron Boone did, the Yankees had some factors working in their favor, but they can't count on them. So you can't count on the New York replay command center ruling in your favor when there's he was out.
They got our bribes. It seems the New York replay center was, give me a break. I don't know. Am I going to be the worst? I didn't. Ron Darling kept saying there was all this clear daylight. I don't know if I saw it. I think that call stands no matter what's called on the field.
I think it makes sense that it stands because I don't know if it wasn't clear cut, right? You weren't sitting there and you're like, oh, he's out. You're looking at the frame by frame breakdown. You're like, he's probably out, but I kind of can't tell.
I saw a world where he was out. I'm not sitting here being like,
no, of course,
indisputably safe.
Yeah, no. Exactly.
It's bang, bang. There's probably space between the foot and the base, but I don't have an angle that shows me space between the foot and the base. I just have a heel coming towards the base. The angle Jazz hit it at was also insane. And he should have been way safe based on the timing of the play.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. It was up for grabs. And I think if you're a Royals fan, you have a right to be upset. I think as a Yankee fan, you expect that to get overturned and you're surprised when it doesn't. But I was looking at it and I didn't see that daylight. Daylight to me is like a big old gap. And this was a heel and some dirt, and he's going at it sideways and his foot is backwards. And there's the glove hitting cleat. Where's the tag? And it's all very odd.
I don't even know. That play was so confounding to me. A, the throw was terrible. B, Jazz had gotten a great jump, but slid too early, slid incorrectly, and then Michael Massey somehow gets the tag down. It made it a lot closer than it was, and you're just like, what is this team doing? We can't even steal a base where it looks like it's the most easiest opportunity to steal a base. So that was another frustrating aspect of it. If Angel Zerpa doesn't come in and throw a million straight balls, this is a different game. The Yankees go 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Like you said, send 8 batters to the plate and score 2 runs on RBI walks. That's not winning baseball. That's getting lucky, objectively getting lucky. Yes, they worked a couple of counts. Austin Wells fought off a 3-2 pitch. Who walked in the other run?
Schneider, former Red Sox legend John Schneider.
No, who was the batter?
Oh, Volpe.
Yeah, Volpe.
Begging for a walk
guess who's begging for walks every at-bat?
Begging for a walk all day.
Call doesn't go his way, body language. Oh, my God. Every single time, every borderline strike, he's making a face. It just couldn't be more obvious. He's terrified of taking the bat off his shoulder, and that was just more evidence of that. So, he walks in the run, but the pitching was so erratic and Bush League that if he didn't walk in a run, then we're talking about a much greater problem today. So, look, strike me down for being negative, but I saw all the same problems. And the only positive I'm taking from this game is that the supporting cast here was able to step up. Because you even look at Gerrit Cole's outing, like he got rest, and I understand that maybe it was too much rest, but he wasn't sharp. He wasn't executing. The velocity was down, I think. Like he just wasn't where he needed to be in a game where he absolutely needed to be where he needed to be, if that is English at all. But
yes.
It's just like, I don't know. And this is why it's so hard to talk about these in the aftermath, because the conversation sounds like it's contradicting itself. It sounds like I'm not happy that we won the game. I'm thrilled that we won the game. I'm shocked that we won the game. I did not think they were going to win the game. And the fact that all these things were not in their favor and they did does speak to an element of luck that could be on their side. But again, like this type of play in the manner in which it transpired is not winning baseball, and it's not getting you past the ALCS. I'm sorry. So either way, the depth is there. The bullpen is showing out. They're ready to go. Supporting cast members are willing to put bat on ball, and they're getting aggressive. So we got to appreciate that.
Luke Weaver not going to be able to do it every day, though, even with all this rest. And Clay Holmes is not going to give you an inning and 2/3 every single day, regardless of all this rest. I loved what I saw from the bullpen in the opener, but you can't count on it every day. You got to win some of these games 10-2. You just do. You have to have 7 dominant innings from Carlos Rodón. Yeah. You just do. Because
the first inning was the biggest problem for me. You get out of that first after Gerrit Cole's giving up all that hard contact, and you're like, oh, shit, what are we getting into? And you get lucky on those two. Like, those balls were rocked. Yeah. So you go into the first, Glaber walks, Soto double, great. All of our best hitters are coming up with no outs, runners on second and third, and they do exactly what they have done all year long, unable to get a run across the plate. And that's just more indicative of the problems. Like, that's where you bust it open. That's where you get the stadium rocking. That's where Gerrit Cole gets his confidence back. That's where he goes 6 innings and gives up 1 run, you'd hope. And then the offense keeps the pressure on Michael Wacha for the rest of the game. And they kept the Royals in the game. They let Michael Wacha get into a groove for a little while. But then again, you look at the end result, and he essentially just pitched as well as Gerrit Cole did. And he's not half the pitcher Gerrit Cole is.
And he still got yanked too early. Like he had
agreed. Still got yanked too early.
I don't really know what.
And that ended up being a terrible. That was the game deciding decision right there.
My opinion. I mean, and you could feel it when it happened, and you're like, are the Yankees good enough, strong enough to take advantage of this? Are they going to make this into a mistake? And the answer was, again, could have put up 5 or 6 that inning, put up 2, but it was still very helpful because then when the Royals go ahead and punch back, you had some ammo. You didn't fall behind by several. You fell behind by 1. You were able to equalize and eventually take the lead. Need a lot of innings from Rodon in game 2 and game 3. You hope is sort of a Luis Heel, Clark Schmidt combo effort. And you hope that when you see Cole again, that he looks more like Gerrit Cole, because you now have to be cognizant of the layoff, because we're not to go all Brian Snitker on everybody. I think the layoff is good. And I don't think that Aaron Judge's struggles stemmed from the layoff. Aaron Judge, before the layoff, went 0 for 5 with 5 Ks against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then did not play the season's final game of the regular portion of the campaign. So before Aaron Judge took a break, he looked terrible. And then after the break, he was also bad. So again, not blaming the layoff for everything, but the Yankees have to hope that the layoff was responsible for Gerrit Cole's command deserting him. Because if not, it's a playoff problem that we didn't want to have to deal with. It's not an issue of can't perform in the playoffs. Cole has been awesome in the playoffs, especially with the Yankees. Game 1s, he gets the ball, unless he's got a hamstring issue at the wild card game in Boston that Boston fans refuse to acknowledge as an injury. But by and large, you have been able to trust Gerrit Cole as a Yankee playoff starter. And down the stretch, you were able to trust Gerrit Cole as a let's get into the playoffs with momentum starter. And then in the opening game, he was quite bad. And it's amazing he got as far as he did with the stuff that he had, which was bad. And John Boy did a nice helpful montage of center cut balls that were not lambasted for 450-foot homers, but should have been. Somehow the only homer he gave up was Melendez just scooping one and taking it out to the short porch, which the porch is for everyone. We're not the Orioles. We're equal opportunity. We give to everybody here. You can have the porch. He got it out. Glaber got one out, but both of them got out to like the second row. Yay for those two guys. But yeah, Cole had some meatballs that were not realized. The meatballs with the potential to go quite far that, managed to somehow find the catcher's mitt. So could have been worse, was pretty bad. And if he toes the rubber for, say, game 4 with a clinch on the line or with the season on the line, we're going to have to be thinking about, okay, the last Cole I saw was pretty tough stuff. On a normal routine, does that help? Or does it hurt? Is he just this guy who's sort of thrown off and looking for a rhythm? Or is it just the layoff? The issue isn't that we know which one of those guys we're getting. The issue is that we don't know. And we're going to have to be concerned with that heading into that hypothetical game. But you know how you avoid that temporarily is sweep. You don't avoid it forever because then you have to think about it for game 1 of the next round on another long layoff. But it would be great to just get out of this series unscathed. Don't think about it. The offense is going to have a moment. And yes, they scored 6 runs in the last game. But no, they did not efficiently. They somehow managed to come in below expectations and scoring 6 runs, which congrats. We're happy.
Yeah, that is a true congrats, because usually this is what we're saying after they score 2 runs or 3 runs and they lose 4-3 when they should have won 8-4. But yeah, in terms of what we're looking at ahead, a lot of the chatter is obviously Aaron Judge. What's going on with Aaron Judge? I don't think anything's going on with Aaron Judge. He had a slow start to the end of the year, or a slow finish to the end of the year. Had a long layoff, now is back in the playoffs. I understand that's not an excuse for anybody. Everybody had the same amount of time off. So, everybody's facing the same pitcher. Everybody's facing the same conditions. You can understand why people are worried. If we lose that game, the worry is exponentially greater. And it just is. We win that game, you should be sitting here saying, okay, Judge lives to see another day. Team got it done despite his efforts of failure in this one. And now we just got to move on and hope for better days. Judge talked to ESPN before the start of the series, and his focus very much seems on rebounding in October for the totality of his career. He talked about the second that he arrived in New York, that he was excited and emboldened by the winning culture, or the better put, the World Series or bust mentality, which has its pros and cons. Like pros, high expectations. We expect a lot. We want the best. That's fun, isn't it? The cons are most years are going to suck because you're not winning a World Series every year. You're barely winning a World Series once every 15 years, especially in this day and age with the way parity has gone in Major League Baseball. So he's no stranger to this. If this persists throughout the ALDS, sure, then you're looking at a problem for the CS, because you're going to run into better pitching. Tigers bullpen's on fire, and they have the AL Cy Young winner. Guardians pitching, best bullpen in the league, right? They're the best bullpen in the league. And they have enough starting pitchers to get them to where they have to be. And the problem with that is, like, the Yankees don't face starting pitchers like that well. Like the guys who are there to do a bulk 4 or 5 innings, like kind of like what the Guardians have right now, they don't perform well against those guys. They're better off facing someone like Shane Bieber. But if he was healthy, like that would somehow be more beneficial to them. I don't understand why, but yeah, the road's not getting any easier. I know the Royals starting staff is good, and I know their bullpen has caught fire for the last 4 or 5 weeks, which is usually a very good recipe for October. So there are some baked in excuses there for Judge, but yeah, he's just going to need to do something tonight to turn it around. So this isn't the discourse. It's an unpleasant discourse. Like, we all love Aaron Judge. I don't think there's a fan out there who dislikes Aaron Judge. I think he's an exemplary captain. I think he leads by example. I think he says all the right things. He's very good with the media. He's very respectful. He's aware of the fan expectations and the demanding aspects of it all. But he knows as good as anybody that he's got to perform in the postseason. I don't know if I'm concerned just yet, simply because all the other Yankees teams that made the playoffs since 2020 just weren't good enough. And it's not like in baseball's not basketball. You're not expecting a super Herculean effort from your number one player to get you from game 1 to game 2, and then to clinch you something in the do or die game 5 or game 7. It just doesn't work like that. You just need like some sort of steady semblance of production, and that's where Judge has struggled for the most part because he's gotten the big hits. You just listed them up top. I know they weren't against the most fearsome opponents, and they didn't come at memorable times because the Yankees usually lost in all of those series, but he's been there. He's done it. Now it's just finding some sort of rhythm. The problem with his postseason career is a lack of rhythm. Don't know what it is. Hopefully this is the year it turns around, but I understand a portion of panic here, like, a little side dish of panic. But if this is the main course for you, then you're unwell as a Yankees fan. Just are.
Wow. No, I agree. And again, I don't think anyone using the bad faith argument of just like Aaron Judge can't play in the playoffs. Like that's a crazy assertion. Yeah. You're probably a fan of a rival team if that's your take. And we've all seen the tweets. We've seen your great tweets about, hey, this will never change. Nothing. The same thing will happen over and over again. Okay, great, fantastic. But he starts game one with that sparkling defensive play in center field, a place where he has technically had issues so far. He's not quite the same center fielder he was a right fielder, but he turned it on for another gear to start the postseason. That was an incredible play. Great jump on Witt, set the tone. And, of course, the offense fumbled the tone in the bottom half of the inning, but that's okay. But, yeah, the offense didn't follow. Michael Wacha continued his dominance. It was 1 for 18 with 11 Ks entering that game, and he continued to put him into a slumber, uncorked some nasty changeups with second and third, nobody outs. The beat goes on, but here we are. And I think a lot of people do want to see something big from Aaron Judge tonight, a big moment. Somehow, even in that Guardians DS in 2022, he hit some monster home runs. He hit one on the road in Cleveland.
Yeah.
He hit one in the deciding game 5. And yet, without those, other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? We get it. But without those home runs, it was a lot of Ks and it was a lot of empty ABs. And the haters focused on those, and some of that leaked into Yankee fan mentality as well. So this needs to be a legacy creation October for Aaron Judge because the Yankees don't go as far as they should go without Aaron Judge playing like Aaron Judge. And he's going to win the MVP this year. Witt Judge MVP no longer up for debate, no matter what happens in this series. But your MVP's got to be an MVP. Juan Soto had 3 hits in the opener. Everybody saw that. Mm-hmm. The Yankees are very lucky that they have Juan Soto. He's on their roster. He's on their roster for, they're going to need him in the lineup in order to continue advancing in this postseason. And if they can get Judge too, they can get both of them working at the same time. That's why a lot of people are bullish on the Yankees. So if Judge is not going to show up, we have a problem. And it's Juan Soto and supporting pieces. I know Stanton can do it in the playoffs too. It's not. He's been exemplary in the postseason as a Yankee. It's not like, wow, where is he? Always disappears when the lights get brighter. No, he's been fantastic, but he was not in game 1, and we're going to need to see that protection as well moving forward.
Absolutely, we need a Giancarlo Stanton home run at some point. I mean, the limitations there are just another, like Aaron Boone coming out and talking about his base running. Giancarlo Stanton's base running cost his team 2 runs. Like it's just what happened.
That ball, the ball the center fielder dove for that rolled around the outfield. Anybody else scores on that, and it's okay.
But we could have scored on that, And it's okay. It's a reality we've accepted. But man, just reading the quotes, the quote is so bad. It's like someone asked, like, so how does it feel like Giancarlo Stanton's at half speed? And Aaron Boone's like, no, he's at more than half speed. And it's like, what, dude?
How much more?
Well, how much more, and B, like, why are we talking about this? Why is this a topic of conversation? And I understand that I know that it's a giant elephant in the room. Like, we've been talking about it since last year. We wrote a couple of articles on it this year. There was the play in Toronto where the throw beat him by 5 steps and the catcher just dropped the ball. And then there was that opportunity where he was trying to round third and an outfielder struggled to bobble the ball, and he was just jogging towards third and didn't have the opportunity to run home, and it cost the Yankees a run. So, like, this is a reality. So you talk about Giancarlo Stanton's value, and it's good and it's bad, right? Like, his value is a 25 homer bat that comes up in the clutch, and he does. His stats with runners in scoring position this year are tremendous. His penchant for coming through in the playoffs is well documented, dating back to 2019. Even the one game that he played against the Astros it was all the difference with that home run. Mm-hmm. 2020, he went nuclear. 2021 in the wild card game, he was the only one that contributed anything. 2022, he gets the Yankees past the Guardians with the first inning home run in Game 5 of the DS. So like it's all there, but he makes the lineup inflexible because he's stuck in the DH spot. If he's not homering, he's kind of useless because he's not walking, and he can't run. So when you're talking like, 7th inning, I would say, or later, and he gets on base, like that's a pinch running situation. And that's where you got to start moving guys around. But the fact that we even have to talk about this is insane. It's the only team with this problem. And if Giancarlo Stanton was more like someone like David Ortiz or Edgar Martinez, like it wouldn't be an issue, right? It would be like, oh, that's one of the greatest DHs I've ever seen. But Giancarlo Stanton has not been that good in recent years. And that's just the way that it is. And again, I think Yankee fans have accepted it, most except for like, I think the 45 and older crowd, like those guys are still yelling about it. Like, how does this fucking guy still swing at sliders in the other box? Like, I know that that's a thing for the older generation because it is baffling to see, but a lot of us have accepted it. And the fact of the matter is that he's going to give you 25 homers a year. He's going to give you a clutch bat, but he's giving you 100 games. He's giving you no mobility. He's giving you no defense. And that's that. And it's a crazy reality that the Yankees have to deal with. And you can complain about his salary all you want. It is what it is. Again, blame the Yankees. They traded for him. They opted to not spend after trading for him. This is not a Giancarlo Stanton problem. Like, this is where I regret some of my past criticism of Giancarlo Stanton. I really do, because you look at the totality of the Yankees' decision-making over that time, and you're like, yeah, like on one hand, yes, Giancarlo Stanton needs to be accountable for his performance and partially his health, at this stage in his career to some extent. Like, some of the stuff is freak injuries or there's nothing you can do about it. But like, we're talking about jogging the bases and he can't even do that. So it's tough to come to terms with it. But you look at all the other talents that the Yankees passed over and they used Giancarlo Stanton's contract as an excuse, mind you, while they were not paying Aaron Judge. Remember that. This was during the window before Aaron Judge got a contract extension, before the Yankees decided to lowball him before opening day on 2022. So, yeah, there's a part of me that wants to absolve Giancarlo Stanton of all sin in terms of injuries and lackluster performance, because it's not all his fault. And the Yankees knew the problems they were getting into, and they let the problems persist, and they offered no solutions. They said, oh, this is the product we got. Our payroll's high. Sorry, folks. And sometimes the Yankees performed and got beyond it. Other times the lineup would completely forget how to play baseball because they were losing their middle of the order presence. I'm hoping Stanton has a big postseason. He's been a good, I think, vocal guide for this team. After they won the division, they asked if the reporters were asking if the Yankees were a team to beat, and he said, well, that's the whole point, isn't it? And that's what we need. That's the mentality that we need. So if Giancarlo Stanton is not performing at the plate, he's at least, carrying that message with him in the locker room, hopefully influencing other players. I want him to have a big series when he hits homers. It's probably the most exciting the Yankees fan base gets. Like, it's when him and Judge are hitting in the middle of the lineup, it's what fans pay to see. It's what they dream of, because, I mean, how many times were we talking when they first signed together? It's like, wow, these guys have barely played together. Now we've seen a ton of them together, and the production's been a little bit night and day, but when they're on and they homer, the team's record's insane. Like, the vibes are off the charts. So everybody should be rooting, and I know they are. Some are just a little bit more angry than others, but Giancarlo Stanton's success, we need it. We want to see it. And we don't know how much longer he has as a Yankee, because we don't know what health is going to dictate. We don't know what the contract situation is going to look like maybe after next year. So yeah, cherish it, folks. That's it.
I am cherishing it. Tonight, there is a baseball game. Carlos Rodon takes the rubber against Cole Ragans. Again, like to be in the catbird seat, like the one win. Want another win. Would feel good. Thoughts? The first inning, Rodon's going to have to really take a breath, not be amped up. compose yourself. There is a Clark Schmidt in reserve if needed, but it would be great to not have to go to Clark Schmidt. It would be great if Rodon could just continue his regular season dominance of the Royals. It would be great if the offense, the Yankees offense, could hang a crooked number on this Royals team. But Cole Ragans is Cole Ragans. So this is probably going to be another tight game. Or Rodon is the one who makes it not tight. But I think prepare for another clenched one. Hopefully, Yankees can come out on top in an affair that does not involve a lot of scoring runs. It would be, you know what? I hope the Yankees win 15-2, but I don't know if they will. Early thoughts? What's your vibe?
Early thoughts. I don't have any. I really don't. I'm just hoping. I'm putting out all the energy that we don't have any issues in the first inning today. That's it. Anything else? If we lose this game fair and square, that's totally okay with me. That's baseball. I can't have a Carlos Rodon implosion, and it definitely cannot be a result of undisciplined play in the field. So that's it. I think, again, team has all the talent in the world. They out-talented the Royals on Saturday. They did. They had a deeper lineup. Guys stepped up when they needed to. Bobby Witt Jr. gets one hit in that game. He went 0 for 5. It's a different game. Mm-hmm. So the Yankees neutralized the opposition's most talented player and their inferior talents, which deep in the lineup managed to get through. So that's all. I'm just nervous, and I just want the most insane outcomes to not come to fruition, because we know how tough it is for them to battle back in the first. We know Carlos Rodon's issues with pitching in the first. I don't think it's going to happen because he's been pitching well, and the team overall has been able to score some runs here and there. So it's not like they're putting up goose eggs. You would like to see a little bit more offensive firepower, but again, they have enough there. I just want semi-clean baseball. Is that too much to ask for? How about you?
That's what I want. I don't want to put up goose eggs. I want to egg the opposition. Yeah. And it felt like a good crowd in the opener on Saturday. 7:38 on a Monday today should be an even better crowd. It's not a weekend. You do not need to interrupt your previous plans. You do not have to take off early from work. You just have to show up like you were planning to and be really loud. It's not 9 p.m. and it's not 4 p.m. It is a good time for a baseball game. Somehow the Saturday game was 3+ hours, and it really continued to go. And Bob Costas added to that feeling of drag, and it was a lengthy affair in an era where the pitch clock has mostly eliminated those. How about a nice, clean, crisp 4-1 victory in 2 hours and 37 minutes for the New York Yankees? Can we do that? Can we get that? I'll take that. I would love a blowout Yankees win, but I will take a game that moves quickly, a game with very few fireworks, a game where the outcome doesn't really feel in doubt, and a game where the infield defense executes and the outfield defense matches them. And we don't have to reevaluate a Gold Glover starting at shortstop like I briefly had to on Saturday night. How about that? Let's have that. I am Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. We will be right back here on Thursday discussing 2 more games, because that's how the schedule works. When we are live Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern, Game 2 will be over. Game 3 will be over on Wednesday, presuming it doesn't last almost 24 hours, which it shouldn't. That would be crazy. Probably won't happen. But we'll be back here at 2 o'clock Eastern on Thursday talking about a good portion of this ALDS with the Royals. Thomas Carannante, where can the people find you?
Oh, I'm at Tommy's_takes. We're both at the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please head on over to yanksgoyard.com. Plenty of content there we're writing out for you. Some stuff that we're not able to squeeze in on the podcast. So it'd be great if you wanted to get some more Yankees knowledge in your brain. Can't hurt, right? Game 2 tonight. Today's 6:38? 7:38. Today's 7:38. 7:38, Cole Ragans versus Carlos Rodon at Yankee Stadium. Then we have Game 3 in Kansas City on Wednesday. So we'll be talking to you guys again on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern live right here. Unless, I guess, something insane happens, maybe we'll go live. I think for now, we'll keep the regular cadence, but we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Let's go Yanks.
Take care, everybody. Stay strong. Playoff baseball. Nobody is having fun. Look at all the fan bases. Absolutely no one is having fun.